I have it. Okay. So let's dive into, I've introduced you a little bit now into, where it comes from. Where is geometric grid design coming from? What are we using? And I've highlighted it here in the assignment brief, the influences of Bauhaus, avant-garde, Art Deco, op art, abstract art, Islamic decoration, and Swiss style. We are going to be designing a series of grid-based geometric designs that can be placed in many design applications. For this project, the final application is not the focus. In this project, we are looking to create a kit of parts that we can apply to many surfaces. Grids allow you to create a cohesive dynamic design system with continuity between various elements. So the project objective is developing and using grids as a basis for your design. The objective is to help you streamline your workflow, how to make it easier to experiment and nail the compositions that you're trying to create, helping you to focus and get the most out of yourself during each stage of the design development, continuing to develop your knowledge of advanced Adobe Illustrator tools and techniques, creating a personal inventory of grids that can be used in future projects, not just the one we're doing here in class. A few examples of what you can create with the technique you're learning is you can create, of course, abstract artwork and illustrations, which we're going to be focusing on for this project. You can also create these into patterns. They can become patterns. This technique can be digital lettering, custom type, as much like you saw for the Melbourne identity I shared with you. They can become logos and icons like you saw for the library with the isometric logo. They can become decorative frames. They can become infographics. It's a technique that can be used in many different ways once you understand the principles. We're going to be looking at a lot of different ways that we are going to approach using grids and geometry in our design. Looking at the formal use of full format, partial spot graphic, looking at repeatable edges. So can we make something that's a repeatable tile? We're going to be looking at spacing of elements, loose with gaps, dense touching, dense overlapping, arrangement of elements next to each other, inside concentric, inside offset center, inside random, balance, linear symmetry, rotational symmetry, asymmetrical composition, and emphasis. Is it an even emphasis, or do we have a focal point? Is there movement or direction? In other words, is it static, dynamic, vertical, dynamic horizontal, dynamic diagonal, or inward or outward? So these are all the things we're going to be thinking of during our design composition. But to get there, the first step of this project is creating grids. And so what we're going to talk about today and what we're going to focus on, and the first demo I'm going to have for you today, is exploring grids and their combinations. There's a number of different standard grids which we can use to construct the shapes and align elements. And they're going to be, the four basic categories are going to be rectangular, regular, and square grids. Rectangular and square grids with incrementally changing rectangular modules. We're going to be looking at polar grids with regular or irregular circles and rays, and isometric grids and hexagonal grids. So the first step in this project is going to be creating 40 grids in Illustrator. And that might seem like a lot, but remember, we're just creating the grids, not the designs that are going in them. We're creating the grid structures, and that's going to be pretty easy once we walk through the system. And we're going to be making a combination of all of these. We're going to be doing regular rectangular grids, polar grids with regular or irregular circles and rays, isometric grids and hexagonal grids, combining grids, squares and polar grids, and combining isometrics and hexagonal grids with polar grids. So there's going to be and there's infinite ways you can make grids. And so that's what we're really pushing ourselves. So much like Marian Banshees, we're going to be really experimenting. We're going to be exploring the possibilities. We're going to go into this fearlessly looking at what are the different ways we create. The idea here is that this is going to be creating a resource for you, for your future self, so that you can come back to this collection that you're going to be creating and use them in the future, not only in this, what we're doing in this class, but there's something that you have an understanding of. And the best way to have an understanding of it is by creating it and making it. After we create our grids, which is what we're going to focus on today and tomorrow, is we're going to start adding elements to our grids to develop them further, and creating tiles that can help us choose to create more. And then we're going to be moving into creating shape-based, linear, or both types of designs based on our grids, and finalizing our design composition. Sorry. We're going to be refining our designs. I'm not going to read through all of this. We're going to go through each step by step. But what I want to share with you are some examples from last semester that are posters of the final designs. So let me see. I don't know why this little bar is in the middle of our page. Okay, so here are some examples of posters with 9 or more geometric designs incorporated. So these are some of the examples of the grid-based designs that students created last semester. There's one, geometry. There's another one. There's another one. And then you're going to see that I have lots of notes that I've put underneath the project brief, which are going to walk you through step by step how we're going to be creating our designs. I'm going to walk you through a few of these. There's a resource folder here for grid-based design. And you're going to see I have AI shortcuts for creating geometric designs, which is a PDF. I have a PDF of Illustrator preferences, what I'm going to walk us through right now. And then design considerations for geometric design. AI shortcuts these are all of the shortcut letters that you would use to pull up any of these tools. So if you want to have this is something you could print out, have near your desk. It gives you all of the key commands for these tools in the tool panel. And so if you ever wanted a list of all the Illustrator key commands, this is what I found for you. And so it's just a PDF with all of those key commands outlined for you. So for those of you who like key commands and want to keep learning them, and they are good to learn, I would just have these printed out and kind of near your desk so you can kind of reference it as you're going. It's just something that the more key commands you learn, the quicker you are working. Oh, now I clicked myself all the way out. I didn't mean to do that. Assignments and projects. Okay, so let me close that and show you. So then we're back in here. Here's the Illustrator preferences, and I'm going to go through these with you. But here is a document that kind of shows you, if you're more visual and you want to refer back to this, this shows you what the preferences windows look like. And so you can always reference back to this because we're going to set up a special workspace just for working in on geometric designs. And so this is a setting up your workspace. File. And then lastly, this design considerations for geometric design, we're going to be touching on a little later when we get into, after we've done our grids, when we're working on shapes and adding shapes. So this is something we're not going to be dealing with today, but we will be in the next couple of days. Okay, so that's what's in the resource folder, mainly like resources for helping you set up your workspace in Illustrator. Because just like you know, for what we do in when we work in Illustrator or InDesign, we usually choose a workspace to work in that's attuned to the type of work we're doing. For this project, we're going to make our own workspace. So that'll be next. That'll be the next demo. All right, so that I'm just ending that video. There we go.